Hey y'all, my name is Sarah. I just love to talk about movies. Today we're going to talk about Orphan First Kill. Now if you've already seen the first one, the first Orphan movie, you know that there are allusions to Esther's past. And in this one, you get a much better idea of what that past was like, where Esther came from. In a way. The movie starts out and we're following a woman starting a new job working in what looks like a hospital. Is she a therapist? Is she a counselor? Is she there for administrative support? We don't know. She drives out very long way from town. This place is far, far out, very isolated. There's layers of security. Badges have to be scanned. The doors are like made out of metal. This is not like an estate where it looks like people are allowed to go outside, if you know what I mean. So she goes in and the director is sort of introducing her and letting her know what kind of patients are there. And she ends up meeting one of them. And that patient happens to be Esther. This person also made the same mistake, assuming that Esther was somehow lost, that she was someone's child and had gotten confused. Their interaction with each other sort of set the level of intensity of this version of the film, where Esther is not allowed to be unsupervised, and there's a reason for that. It sets the tension very high right away. Through this conversation with the director, you learn that this is her first day at work. This is her very first day. So the first day that she comes into work, Esther breaks out. Very clever, very smart, playing people against each other, manages to get out of this building. Unfortunately, the art counselor doesn't make it. Esther makes it into town, stages her own damsel in distress routine. She is crying in a playground randomly, gets the attention of a police officer who's like, "Why are you crying? Where are your parents?" She's done her research and she's found a family that is missing a little girl that looks a little bit like her. And let me tell you something, the special effects for this were very well done because the point was not to make them look identical, but it was enough to make them look very similar. The couple that she chose was rich. They are a rich family, American, and that is how she ends up in America. They fly her back home. The mother comes to get her. "Oh, my baby, can't believe you found her. We thought you lost you forever." She goes home to a mansion where the father is waiting, and he is all to pieces. And that is the first thing that I noticed. His reaction was very different from his wife's reaction. She was much more stiff and controlled, even in this situation, than he was. He just kind of lost it when he saw her. So Esther gets into the house and starts doing her thing, trying to manipulate the parents and keep them occupied so that they're not questioning too many differences between her and the daughter, working her way into a closer relationship with the father. And then there's a twisty twist. The spoilers are coming up because I have to, because you find out within 30 minutes, I think like 30 minutes of the movie starting, what the twist is in the story. And there's no way to discuss the rest of the movie without discussing it. So spoilers ahead. We find out that the little girl is not missing, that she was accidentally killed by her brother, and that the mother and the brother hid that little girl and then said that she went missing, hiding it from the father. He's got the family name. He's got the clout. He is a famous artist. He had total creative block since his daughter went missing. Tricia, his wife, is very much about maintaining appearances. So she's doing all the things that rich women do, going to charity functions, trying to get her man out of the house, trying to get him working again, encouraging her son to continue in his excellence and whatever that is. In this case, fencing, which was super random. When the jig is up and Esther is found out, because obviously she's not their daughter, she is pretending to be, and the mother, Tricia, and their son, Gunnar, were aware of it the entire time. They just couldn't figure out how she was able to do it. So when they do confront her, the whole movie kind of changes because Esther can't escape. This is way too high profile because they're rich and well known and the father is this famous painter. There's no way for Esther to disappear again. They all kind of agreed to play the part of the happy, reunited family for the sake of Alan and holding on to this family legacy. I appreciate how they do make time move on, that it's not just like one twist after another. There was a detective, for example, who was investigating the missing persons case, and it's an unsolved case to him. And when Esther was found again, he sort of came out of the woodwork. He had his own suspicions about what happened to her. Esther is like, I'm out of here. This is not what I signed up for. I signed up to pull the okie doke, rob y'all, and get out of here. Tricia is like, oh no, you cannot disappear again. So you're going to have to play this out with us or, we'll take care of you. So each thinks that they knows the other well enough. Esther spending more time with the father and Tricia feeling her husband kind of coming back to life because he thinks that his daughter is home. So eventually there is a final confrontation. Esther brings the house down. Next thing you know, Esther, tears, crying. She's sitting in what looks like a waiting area. There is a therapist there who she was seeing as a way to help her with her transition back into normal, regular life. Is like, we'll find a good home for Esther. So the story seamlessly ends to begin with the very next film, which is good, but I was left dissatisfied. Isabelle still has such a good understanding of this character that the quirks are still there, the idiosyncrasies are still there, the control of facial expressions are still there. Now, this movie was filmed several years after the original, so there is no way that they could maintain it believably, in my opinion, using special effects, like Avatar or whatever. Her physical acting, I think, was done well enough that the difference between the two films, the time difference, is pretty well bridged. Esther's experiences with this family kind of fill in some of the gaps from the last film. There's a lot of unique details in Orphan, including finding paints that show up different colors under ultraviolet light and having like those secret paintings underneath her paintings. That's such an interesting detail and very specific, and you wonder where that came from. And in this version, you can see the father, Alan, who is an artist. That is what he was known for, the painting within a painting, using black lights to show a different version of the painting, which I thought was interesting. It was very interesting for him to introduce painting to her, to his knowledge, and for them to bond over that, and that be Esther's way into beginning her relationship with him as his daughter. I would give Orphan First Kill 3 out of 5. So you see the house that they live in, different rooms in the house. You see Gunner's school, him doing a sport. You see his group of friends and how he spends his time when his parents are not around. You see what Tricia gets up to during her day. It's like, what does someone who doesn't work do all day? She does a lot. What the husband gets up to all day, which is mostly him sitting in his studio. But you get to see his studio and you get to see them go through their normal daily routine, which does help, but it wasn't enough character development for me. We've met Esther before, so we know her. The other characters were all brand new. The detective, the counselor, there are so many other people that make the story what it is, and there was enough character development in the previous Orphan movie. The counselor in the Orphan was not just Esther's counselor, but she also was Kate's counselor, who knows her history and who was giving her advice and knowing what her goals were currently, which was to adopt a child. When Esther goes to see her, you get to see how she reacts to Esther through the lens of having this information about Kate as well. Here, you have a brand new counselor who doesn't seem to be very familiar with either parent or Gunnar. So the counselor did see Esther before, but several years had passed since the last time she saw her. There were certain differences that she noticed, but clearly not enough for her to act on. Her somehow not picking up on a lot of different clues to her behavior, in addition to other missing pieces through the story, was just one more thing that kind of irked me about the movie. Would I recommend it? Sure. There are twist after twist after twist in this movie. My issue is that, unlike in the first film, where we get more background information on the main protagonist, in this version, we don't get as much information about Alan and about Tricia and about who they are as people. Clearly, they're supposed to be in grief. Tricia is played quite wonderfully by Julia Stiles. There's not a lot to her character other than the rigid, very disciplined lifestyle of a wealthy woman with a husband whose family came over on the Mayflower. The fact that that is a reference from her, it's like code for I'm rich, I'm wealthy, I'm a rich, wealthy character, but it doesn't really add very much. It shows that they are willing to go beyond what a healthy, stable person would do in order to maintain the facade for society, but it doesn't really tell us much more than that. It's like when you're watching a movie where the main characters are young adults or teenagers, when they do things that are at odds with who you think their character is, sometimes it falls under the umbrella of I'm a teenager, so I'll just do random things for the sake of being random because I'm a teenager and hormones and whatever. And a lot of stuff that the characters did, you attribute to being rich and wealthy and trying to maintain that facade that we are a family to be admired, family with history, with legacy, and you should envy us, but not very much more than that, and certainly not enough to make me care about anybody. I felt bad for Alan because he clearly was grieving his child for a very long time. Tricia knows that Esther is not her daughter because she knows what happened to her daughter. So it's not because she picked up on clues. It's not because she noticed things or was paying attention. It's because she knew prior to that this was not her child. Gunnar was the same way. It's like he knows that's not his sister and doesn't really care enough to carry the facade past, when his dad is not in the room. The father just being so oblivious to certain details and things was a bit, you want to blame it on his grief. You want to blame it on the fact that his child went missing, and clearly that totally broke him. He keeps trying to be like a man of the people, getting his coffee from a regular place, and then his wife being like, throw this garbage away. Him, not caring about appearances and her caring very much about appearances. How did these two connect? What is, besides the fact that they're from the same social circle, I'm assuming, what is it that connects them together? Because in the previous movie, John and Kate showed affection for each other, attraction to each other. They were vulnerable with each other. And here it was more like Tricia's in the role of the wife and the mother and is trying to maintain her position there. And the father is just sort of trying to get by, and Gunnar is living his entire best life without a sister to pull focus from him. And it's difficult to say if that is because he's something is wrong with him, or it's because his position in the family will never be questioned because he is the only living child. The idea that he accidentally pushed her down the stairs and killed her, which we assume, because when he pushed Esther down the stairs, he had this look on his face and could not seem to function. The way that scene was filmed makes you think that he's seen that scene before and called for his mom for help. When the jig is up and Tricia's character is like, okay, look, we're doing this. She went full out. She was like, you're not wearing these clothes anymore. It's weird. We need you to integrate into the family like right now. Her going shopping was very strategic. It wasn't just to buy things, just to buy things. She was trying to make her into, like, mold her physically into a member of the family, coaching her and all this stuff. There are moments that are like, what? And I would recommend it. So, but you guys tell me what you think. I would love to know. Thank you all for spending your time here with me today. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all next time.